Hey, Jason here, and one lesson I've learned from doing a number of deals now is how important it is to think about the 30 days after you close your transaction. Everyone's really excited about closing a deal, and I get it. I know that feeling firsthand, and it's very exciting to close a transaction. But obviously, you want it to be a good deal for you, the buyer, or for your buying group. And one thing most people don't think about is what happens right after you close, from the merchant services to the insurance to all of the mechanisms that make the business work. If you're doing an asset purchase agreement, then you're going to get a new EIN. An EIN in the United States of America is basically like a new social security number for your business. And I can tell you from experience that you're going to have to transition from the old EIN to the new EIN, which is going to require you to have to renegotiate or to reset up all your vendor accounts, your insurance, your licensing. All of the core pieces of the business are going to have to get reset up. And so the question becomes, what happens in those first 30 days when you're getting everything set up? Well, A is you can get everything set up before the close, but it's very difficult to get everything set up before you're operational. Which means B, what's more likely going to happen is you're going to have to get that stuff set up in the first few weeks after closing. And that's going to be an awkward period. There's no getting around the fact that buying a business is difficult, and that initial couple of week period is challenging, especially with an asset purchase agreement. A stock purchase agreement, some of this stuff gets alleviated, but there's costs associated with a stock purchase agreement. Tax benefits aren't as good, and you inherit the liabilities of the business. So an asset purchase agreement is better for tax purposes and for leaving the liabilities at the door, but in exchange for that, you essentially have to reset up the insurance, the merchant services, your vendor relationships, etc. And so from a negotiating standpoint, if you're doing an asset purchase agreement, an asset purchase deal, what you want to do is essentially get the sellers to keep their existing vendor relationships and their existing infrastructure held under their existing EIN for the first 30 to 60 days post-close while you're getting your new stuff set up. Because what can happen if you're not careful is if you don't put this stuff in writing up front, you buy the business, they're out. In those first 30 days, you're dead in the water because your stuff isn't set up yet. And if your stuff isn't set up yet, how are you going to make money? You're going to take a massive, massive loss in month one. And obviously that's a huge problem. You don't want that. So this is a simple way to essentially ensure that you don't get burned. Either set up everything up front, or, which is what I've done on my recent 2 deals, have the sellers continue to carry those core accounts, keep them open for the next 30 to 60 days after closing. Of course, you're gonna pay everyone back. It's not like they're gonna actually be the ones carrying the expense. You're gonna do a true up, which is basically where you make everything right. It's like a repayment or a, what's the word I'm looking for? It's when you just pay someone back. I'm forgetting my words, excuse me. But you're gonna make everything square and whole. But if you don't have that legally agreed on up front, you're gonna have to beg the sellers to keep you going in that transition period, or you're just gonna be left high and dry. By the way, having a little bit of seller finance on the back end is another way that if you forget to do this, will keep the seller engaged in wanting to help you through the transition period. But if you do a 100% buyout, all cash up front, and you forget to put this clause in for an asset purchase agreement, the seller can go head for the hills and you're left with a business that's not set up. So this is the risk, and that's how you get around it. Hopefully that makes sense. If you've liked the video, thumbs it up, share your comments below, subscribe, all that good stuff. See you in the next one.